Hello, I'm Michele Duffy, Editor-in-Chief of American Quilter magazine, published by the American Quilter Society. I'm here today at AQS Quilt Week in Lancaster, Pennsylvania with Kendra Biddle. Kendra, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're from Auburn, Maine?
Yes.
Yep, great. And Kendra, tell us a little bit about your quilt. This was part of our traveling exhibit, the Modern Quilt Challenge that we had in Des Moines, Iowa last year. This quilt has been traveling, and it will travel through our Paducah show. So please tell us a little bit about your quilt.
So this quilt, what I've done here is it began with a sort of sketchbook quilt that I did, all scrap. Every block was different and just trying different things out. And what I found was this one block that I ended up creating a couple times, where it was a neutral background with this sort of cross or point, making the block a little bit more interesting. I ended up using all neutrals and piecing the background pieces in this larger scale and using 3 different scaled blocks. So I've got the smaller one, the medium, and then the largest scale block over here. Okay. I really liked the value that I was able to use with it, really using muted colors in the background with the pop of color in the center, so you can sort of, everything can fade away and you just see the really strong crosses in the center.
Okay, and how much time would you say you spent on making this quilt?
This quilt, I don't know, I feel like I did it in about a week, just because once I sat down to do it, the longest part of it was finding all of the neutrals, was just finding the fabrics, and that took maybe a couple months, but the actual putting it together, probably about a week.
Wow, you're a quick quilter.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And how about the quilting here? Is that your handiwork or someone else's?
That's our my family friend, Alice Karofsky. She's been working with us, my mom and I, who do quilting together for years now, and always does fantastic work, does all this freehand, doesn't use any patterns, but she did the sort of feathered on the center here, and then did more of a circle on the outside to help differentiate between the foreground and the background, and highlight that all the pieces are on point.
Okay, and what about this design up here that I think a lot of quilters would be surprised to see the blocks come right off the top of the quilt? What can you tell us about that?
Well, I think that's probably from I did go to art school and have a degree in art photography, but one thing that was always sort of honed into me or hounded on me was, why stop at the edge? You can keep it going. You have the edge here, but you can make a different shape. There's no reason for it to be rectangle. It can be whatever you want. So use a little more creativity and make it intentional.
Wow, it's fabulous.
Thank you.
Is this, out of curiosity, is this your first quilt in a show? Is this the first time you've entered a show?
It's not the first time I've entered, but it is the first time that I've been shown, certainly nationally. Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this the first time you entered an AQS show?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell, for those who have never entered an AQS show, was that process pretty easy, pretty hard? What would you say?
I think it was fairly easy. It's just making sure you have everything pulled together in time, sending in the images. The process was no trouble at all.
Are there any details that you would like to show us or tell us what inspired you?
Well, to be honest, my favorite inspiration for doing quilts, I love to work with color, but any sort of free association, like with the previous quilt that started this, the sketchbook quilt that I did, all scrap. I just start cutting scrap pieces up and see what comes together, and then I can pull patterns and make my patterns out of that. And that's usually any inspiration that I have is from that.
So it's a very intuitive process for you.
Yes.
You kind of work as you go.
Yep, and
okay.
throw away other things.
We're all very jealous of you, the rest of us who have to have patterns. Well, this is absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, Kendra, thank you so much for joining us today at Quilt Week.
Absolutely, thank you.
In Lancaster. It was just a pleasure to meet you and to learn about your quilt, and I hope that we see another entry soon.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thanks.